Three, two. All right. We are live. Well, we are recording episode 4 of the Joey Tryon show. We're on location, in a secret location in San Diego County. I have a guest today. My first guest I'm sitting down with, and happens to be a friend of mine who has a great story. His name is Blake Wilkey.
We got the whole 9 right here.
Yeah. I mean, you don't have to wear the headphones if you don't want. I can hear everything through mine.
I'm rocking headphones,
Okay.
dude. This is the first time I've got to do something like that.
Okay. And so we've got, let's see, are we on?
Check 1, 2.
So if you're gonna sit right there, and I'm gonna sit right here, can you hear me?
Oh yeah,
Okay, let me hear you.
Joey, the man.
All right, hold on. Let's just do a little test. We're not recording. I just want to make sure I have my shit set properly to where I'm not making fucking noise. That's gonna make noise. Microphones are so sensitive, it's crazy.
Oh yeah.
Like if you fucking are smacking your lips or chewing gum, they're like, can you spit your gum out? The gum police.
That's
The
a
cool
thing,
thing is
huh?
you can post edit this stuff, so it's like I'll turn that shit down.
The laughter. Jesus.
When you pull down your pants for the first time. All right, so we're testing. Hello. Just give me we'll say, hey, we're here with Blake Wilkey.
That's
Blake, you
me.
want to introduce yourself?
My name is Blake Wilkey. I'm San Diego, California. I'm 21 years old with 11 years experience.
Okay, cool. So it sounds good to me from here. Let's see. Sounds good. Not gonna be smacking. Not gonna sound like shit. All right.
I'm laying back like this. Is that okay?
Yeah, you're good. Let's give you some more slack. We'll pull this maybe a little closer.
Tired fella. Yeah, dude. It is close to you. You can hear all that.
Oh, yeah.
So sensitive.
I was doing one in my garage, and I was halfway through it, and my dad didn't know. And he was upstairs in their house, and he just decided it was time to start romper stomping around the house or whatever it was, and all I heard was, I'm like, come inside and go,
Very sure.
are you breakdancing up there? He's like, no, I
It's
just
probably-
shut the door. If I heard that, I would cut more than this cord. It would be done. All right, so turn these down just a smidge. Give me some.
Hello. This is about the volume I'm going to speak at.
Perfect. That's what I like. All right, cool. Well, we're going live.
We're live.
Are you recording?
Yeah, dude.
Oh, 3, 2. All right. We are live. Well, we are recording episode 4 of the Joey Tryon show. We're on location, in a secret location in San Diego County. I have a guest today. My first guest I'm sitting down with, and happens to be a friend of mine who has a great story. His name is Blake Wilkey. Blake, welcome to the show.
What's up, dude? Stoked to be on episode 4 and I guess share with the audience a little bit of my past.
That's right. So, little backstory. I met Blake, almost 10 years ago now. Makes me feel a little old. Through a mutual friend of ours, Brett. Shout out, Brett Ferguson, that pool guy.
Ferg. I miss that guy. I haven't hung out with him in too long.
Well, we're going to tell people why you haven't hung out with him in so long, because you've been busy. So, yeah, I met Blake almost 10 years ago now in San Diego. And he's slowly quickly evolved into basically a personality, a athlete, a influencer in the off-road space, but his influence is real because he posts everything he does, he works hard, and he's not afraid to show everything in between the ups and the downs, which is part of the reason I wanted to have him on the show today. I would say he's a self-made person, the definition of it, right?
Yeah, dude, through thick and thin, dude.
And, when I met Blake, my understanding was that he was building off-road trucks and cars out of his garage, a garage. you know, a normal one like the rest of us have.
My
and
dad's.
his dad's garage.
I took that thing over.
Yeah, it was no longer your dad's garage, huh? And
He made it seem like it, but I guess I didn't really give him much of an option.
and so since I met Blake, in less than 10 years, the guy has developed a name for himself, like I said, and a brand. Why don't you tell us the name of your brand?
Shreddy Life is the name of the brand that me and my partner Aaron started about 3.5 years ago when we got some momentum that I think we'll probably work up towards in this show.
Definitely. And Shreddy Life, for all of you out there, is on Instagram. You can find them. It's SHREDDY, Shreddy Life, LYFE, correct?
Correct.
Yeah, look them up. They're always posting cool stuff that Blake and his squad are up to, and it's quite entertaining, to be honest. So we'll get started now. I just want to ask Blake a few questions and give people who might not know him beyond his Instagram a little more in-depth information. So, Blake, why don't you take us through where you grew up, where you're from, your start, your roots of just where you're from.
San Diego, man. Born and raised in this beautiful city with basically everything at my fingertips. I mean, Big Bear, where we'd go shred the snow, was 3 hours away. Glamis, less than 3 hours away. River, less than 3 hours away. You know, and everything in between with biking trails, just off-road or dirt bike tracks. It's just no better place to be brought up, I feel like, and be into action sports.
Absolutely, I agree. Why don't you a little more info? What part of San Diego did you grow up in? I'm a North County kid. I'm from Vista, so for a lot of people out there who don't know San Diego in depth like we might, it's a big county. There's a lot of places you could be from. I could be from North County, and I might not know people who are from
La Mesa.
La Mesa. There we go.
Yeah.
So what, is that considered East County, San Diego?
It is East County. You know?
All right.
There was a time where it was known as like the Bro County, East County, for sure. When you know some of the brands like Metal Militia and SRH were coming up and about. It was kind of one of those hot zones, spiked hair, all that good stuff.
Lifted truck, high black socks to the calf.
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah. Okay.
You know it, dude.
I knew it. We lived it. See, us North County kids kind of, we might not admit it, but we looked up to the off-road culture of the East County as we drove 2.5 hours to go to Ocotillo Wells, and we knew you guys had a shorter drive, you know, and you guys had the off-road vibes going on in the East County. So
Oh yeah.
tell me a little more about being a kid down there. Were you into any sports? I was a baseball kid. Were you in any stick and ball sports, or was it straight to the dirt?
Growing up, my grandparents, who I lived with in La Mesa in the ghetto, it was my grandpa was a bowler. He was a golfer.
Nice.
I did the t-ball stuff. You know, I did a little bit more than just that, where I'd be standing in the outfield if I got put in the outfield, looking through my glove, just bored as shit, waiting for some action. Bowled with my grandpa in his league as like, you know, a 7-8-year-old kid. Golfed a little bit here and there, got my Tiger Woods on and all that good stuff. But I got a dirt bike when I was 7 as well. So all that other stuff kind of growing up from previous got easily and very quickly pushed aside because I grew up going to the river and the desert with my mom. And then getting an XR70, I basically wrote all that other team sports stuff out the window just because, you know, I didn't want to have to rely on other people to win because, you know, we're all competitive by nature, even at a young age. You know, you don't want to win. And versus lose, it's always a little better feeling when you win. So essentially, the dirt bike just totally took me out of all those elements because I didn't want to do anything else. Yeah,
I think growing up playing baseball with you'd meet a kid almost every few years at the Little League field who was a motocross kid first, and their family had him in baseball, and you'd see the bike in the back of the truck, and the kid just maybe came back from Glen Helen, and he's trying to play a Little League game on a Saturday or a Sunday, and he's like, baseball's not for me anymore, Mom and Dad. I want to be at the track.
That was me,
hitting the jumps. So that's cool. So you mentioned your dad, and you mentioned the bowling league, the grandpa, your grandma. Well, we haven't mentioned your grandma yet, but we will. I wanted to ask you who your influences were that got you into the moto scene. You said you got an XR70. So how'd that come about?
My mom, since she grew up my mom and dad both grew up going to the desert. They split when I was about a year old, but they were both mutually interested in the desert, the river,
Right.
all that. My dad did that a lot more in his younger age. My mom was younger than my dad by a few years, so she was still kind of doing that whole scene. And I got pictures of me in diapers at the river, on the sandbar, pictures of me naked running around driving boats, her boyfriends or friends, badass jet boats and all that, and just kind of was in the scene. So when I got old enough and was ripping around on my bike pretty avidly, my mom talked my grandma into buying me a dirt bike, which she was
That's
against.
awesome.
My grandpa was against, but she talked him into it. I got a dirt bike and was driving around the street, kind of getting a feel for it. Crashed, bruised my hip up, got a big old cherry. Right where I was full gear, head to toe, bro. Helmet, gloves, goggles, boots, leathers, and right where my hip bone was, the only place where I didn't have sufficient protection, I
Of course.
got a big old cherry. It didn't scare me though. I wanted to hop back on the bike and go riding, but shortly after I got the bike and kind of got a feel for it on the streets, I went to Verona Oaks, the local motocross track, the home of champions,
Oh yeah.
and they threw me right into the mix with kids on 65s that were in the same age group, but they had 2 strokes, I had 4 strokes,
And so for those of you who aren't super up on dirt bikes, but I'm sure most of you who are listening to this know what we're talking about. But Blake's saying he was on more of a trail desert bike at the track, and these kids were on full blown race bikes. And I'm imagining the story goes you kept up with these kids on your bike.
At
Or you did your
first,
best.
I did my best. There were some of them that were still figuring out the clutch and shifting gears and all that, and I picked it up pretty quick. And then shortly after that, I hit a little growth spurt, and I got an old 1980 Yamaha that was just clapped out. But I was so stoked to have a 2-stroke power band.
Oh yeah.
And then it just snowballed, man. 85, 125, 250F, 450 at 16, just because I felt the power and was addicted to it ever since that first rip on a moto.
That's usually the story you hear. If you hear that story where, he fell down and he wanted to come back, it's most kids, that's that defining moment. If they're going to be a motocross kid or an off-road kid or a skater or a BMX or a football, you take that first hit, and if you get up and you kind of, I'm coming back tomorrow, then that's for you. If not, you might be working at a library today, or we might not even know who you are. So thank God for dirt bikes, right?
Yeah, that's forever 2 wheels. They always got a soft spot in my heart.
So, which you still ride to this day, but probably not as much as you used to because you're got a lot going on, right?
Yeah, I still got the Cowie 450 that's all built, and she's bad. I told Crowder to make it rip my arms off, and it's fast. And I don't have health insurance. I haven't since I've kind of been doing my own thing. So
Right.
it's time and place. And, when the conditions are right, out in Beaumont or the boys are getting together or, throw a paddle on a couple times a year, I can still hop on it and feel right at home and super comfortable and still sesh and keep up with the best of them.
That's what it's all about. So I wanted to ask you, obviously moto is where you started, but you're now famous in the off-road space for building, driving, racing, and shredding anything with a motor. Tell us about how you got into your first experience of off-roading, and then maybe what sparked your interest into customizing vehicles on your own or trying it on your own.
Oh man, started learning to weld with my dad in the garage at 6 on a BMX ramp, flux core, or no, it was actually galvanized steel with a MIG weld or a stick welder.
Okay.
So you got to arc it with the stick, and man, we're breathing it's puts off a mustard gas almost. Well, learn how to weld. Okay, my mom's friends growing up going to the desert, they had buggies, so I went with them to Buttercup a few times, and they had badass rails that we got to rip around on, and it was just another euphoric feeling that you get from a four-wheeled vehicle doing things that you're not supposed to be doing with them, And then the man and machine with a bike, it's all just very transparent that I was always wanting more, or like asking a lot of questions, and my mom knew that like this is what he's into, so
Right.
that's kind of what she pushed into it. But my mom had a bug originally when I was first born, and my grandmother saw a bug that had gotten in a car crash and got mangled.
Right.
So she went and bought her a minivan, and the bug picture of me and my mom was something that my mom always had around. And I was just drawn to bugs. Everyone's had a bug on their street, or, seeing Dust to Glory or like Baja Bugs are just an iconic off-road vehicle. So I guess getting me into it was my mom's friends with all their debauchery.
Right.
I mean, I got some crazy stories if you want to hear it with them. So my mom with the debauchery of her friends, and my dad with the mechanical skill set that he taught me on maintaining bikes, learning to weld, and just kind of sparking that creativity and that interest. So together they both kind of collided and molded me into just challenging myself to build something cool or have something cool myself, since everyone around me seemed to have something badass.
Right. And so you took it upon yourself instead of, a lot of people get stuff handed to them in this world, but there's a lot of us who don't. And you got to find a way to do what you do. I mean, it seems to me your story has that. I mean, it's completely about that, where you, like you just said, you grew up around the cool sand rails, the boats, the buggies, the bikes. But then when it came time to you wanting one yourself, it was, all right, kid, well, you got to build it or you got to do it yourself. So that's kind of one of the main things I wanted to talk about here today, is that Blake is a success story, and it's a story that's still being written, because the guy, we're at his compound right now out here, and when I showed up, there's a guy moving dirt with the tractor. There's your guys Kevin and Garrett in the workshop working on customers' cars, your race cars. So it just seems like the story here is that if you want some stuff, guys, you got to work for it. And by work for it, you really working for it. Like Blake, if you follow him on Instagram, the guy, do you sleep?
Yeah.
Okay.
Like from probably 11 to 6.
Right. And this guy's up every day. He's doing work. And like I was saying, I wanted to find out where that came from. And it sounds like, you got a really good example from, your dad taught you, if you're going to have things, you got to take care of them. And if you want to ride something, then you got to know how to fix it if it breaks.
Oh yeah.
So, and your mom having the extensive group of friends that had the cool stuff, it makes sense that now you are, one of the master craftsmen of Volkswagen bugs out there that are off-road ready. Or, I mean, you made a boat that can jump things. You've done stuff that most people probably have only drawn on paper when they were in school and dreamed of, and you made it a real thing. Like, tell us about how you think of something, and then how it's in your garage now out there in the shop, like the thought to creation process. What goes on there?
Just always want to do something different that stands aside from the normalcy that other manufacturers, other builders have done. So that's kind of where the OG bug took shape. Like, okay, I wanted a bug to kind of reminisce on that picture I used to see on the fridge of me and my mom.
Right.
So I wanted it to look like a Class 1 car, but I wanted it to be confined and look like a spider monkey. So, I learned also the trade at El Cajon ROP, how to properly weld with a little bit of guidance, which is a government paid program in El Cajon, where I'd go to in high school after I'd go to Grossmont High School. So I'd make the trek over there, learned how to properly weld.
That's awesome. Went
to Precision Race Development and said, hey, I'll sweep your guys' floors for free, for nothing. And what's up, at 17. And they offered me a job, and I just was a sponge. Chris Farmer, who was a few years older than me, had a pretty good grasp about it because he had been working there with Kurt for quite some time. So I was his helper. Whenever he didn't have something to do, I'd meticulously clean the shop just to make sure that I was pulling my weight for my buck, not just standing around. And learned the trade there. And then while I was working there, I got a lot of parts, like a customer broke a front arm. So Kurt had a new arm design, and he built him 2 new arms. Well, I took the old broken arm and scalped it back together.
Right.
And then, okay, there's an arm. When he did a run of bulkheads, I said, don't pay me. Just, I want a bulkhead, you know? And then jigged up a tubular upper arm and found a shell for free from a gentleman that wanted me to separate it that was building a Manx there. So I got a shell for free, and then bought a bunch, just started collecting parts.
That's awesome.
And, you know, after a few years, I had a rolling chassis, saved up money, found parts for the drivetrain, and then it just kind of snowballed. And I went through 3 different motors, a VW motor, a Subaru motor, and then put that big nasty LS in it that made the thing wheelie. And at that point in time, I was about 8 years invested into that build, 7-8 years invested into that build, where I would spend, you know, at least half of every paycheck, 2/3 of every paycheck on that to get it to that level. And luckily, my grandparents said if I stayed in the honor roll in high school, they'd cover my insurance and give me, you know, $40 a week for gas, so I could get to and from school. And they cover my phone bill. And then if I went to college, I went to Grossmont Community College for 3 years and got good grades. And I didn't really study one specific avenue. I studied anthropology, philosophy, psychology, physics, and business marketing, just to get a very wide horizon. And I'm still applying all those things today, but I didn't want a degree. I knew that at that point I had to work with my hands,
Right.
and not sit at a desk or something. So it kind of evolved into that, and pretty much, yeah, that's kind of what sparked and how the OG bug came to life. And I was able to make it happen with the help of my grandparents and the know-how and push from my parents. My dad was kind of pushing me away from building it because he's like, why are you spending all your money on this bug, dude?
Yep.
Save your money. You're going to break this thing, and it's going to cost you a shitload of money to maintain it. Like,
Yep.
You don't got to keep up with the Joneses. I'm like, so it was always kind of something to also prove him wrong. Like, watch me build some badass shit.
I feel like anybody with the success story has a little bit of that, where like they were motivated, they're self-reliant, they got it going, but then there's maybe a little voice that told them one day like, oh, you'll never do that. Why would you do that? That's crazy. And you're like, oh, but I will.
Yeah.
And so you mentioned the OG bug. So that's your first, that's the car that put you on the map, so to speak. That thing it's badass. Tell us, where is it now?
It's in Qatar.
Qatar, not guitar, Qatar in the Middle East, correct?
Yep. Or some people pronounce it as Qatar.
Qatar. All right.
Yeah.
So let's just put that in perspective. We're in San Diego. Blake built a badass car. He went viral. We'll talk about that here in a second. And he's able to then parlay that into selling his car to an enthusiast who lives literally a halfway or a full trip around the globe. Like, how cool is that?
It was pretty surreal, man. I mean, I knew that there were parts and components that I could build better, and it was like I made this as best as I could, and I wanted to build another one. So I figured the progress, I would make a profit off of it, and then could roll that into something else. And when it was time for that car to be sold, and I got offered a good chunk of money, I was like, all right. And I'm sure this is going to roll into the urban assault, but that's when I sold it. But there was that last hurrah.
Right. So we'll talk about the hurrah right now. So at the time, I happened to be working in a sports marketing role for a fast food brand, and Blake hit me up, and because we had been friends already, and Blake gives me a call and says, hey, I have this idea. I'm going to drive my extremely loud and amazingly badass bug that we're referring to here through the streets of San Diego. And I have this all planned out. It's going to be badass. Do you want to be part of it? And me personally, 100%. Yeah, I was on board. I wanted to. I asked my chief marketing officer at the time, and his face turned like green. He's like, he's going to get in trouble. And I said, that's the point, man. He's going to get publicity. It's going to build momentum. It's you got to think big picture here. And I think Blake had more than the big picture in mind. So tell us about the urban assault.
Man, it was, like I said, the last hurrah with the car. We wanted to do something that everyone wants to do, man. You see these features on the side of the road, and being a moto slash off road dude, it's like, I can jump from there to there. I want to hit this like a berm shot. Like, and growing up, there were some of that stuff that we did with our daily drivers. And, yeah, dude, I think we just did it. And we methodically thought it out, had people in certain places to, like, in communication to where it was still safe in our eyes, not so safe in other people's eyes, though.
Calculated risk.
Yeah.
Like, you knew what you were doing. You had spotters. You scoped the places out. It wasn't just your first lap around the track, so to speak. You knew what you were doing.
Yeah, and just for safety, because I mean, I didn't want to, one, hurt anyone else, or two, damage the car when I'd already received payment for the car and was shipping it off in a couple days.
It's like you go to the dealership, you buy a new car, and you see the sales guy ripping it down the road the day before.
Yeah.
It's a little more than that. So tell us, what kind of stuff did you do in this video? Obviously, if you're listening, you can pull up the Blake Wilkey Urban Assault on YouTube, or pretty much anywhere will lead you to it. But tell us a little bit about what happened in this video.
Everything was either within like 5 to 10 miles from where I was living in La Mesa at the time. And it was just berm shots of, embankments, parking structures, a street that we had thrashed growing up in high school. I mean, just all the local spots that had some sort of special feature that we'd map out, and like friends would be like, oh, I found this spot, I found that spot, and like accumulated throughout high school of just the thrasher spots, or the things that we envisioned. It was like, well, this car's street legal, I have insurance on it. It's either now or
never.
Potentially never,
Yeah.
Until the next one's done, or a long-term time coming. So we just went for it. Me and my boy Corey from Perplex Media went for it and did it. And then luckily he didn't have very much time to edit because he had some other work. Car got dropped off and then flown overseas. And then when the video dropped, we got some heat.
Yeah, and we don't have to talk too much about the heat, but I saw you on the news. It was on the news, and I think anybody in San Diego heard about it, and I think most of anyone like me who actually knew you or knows you, we were stoked because we knew this was huge for you, but we didn't know if you got in trouble or what the repercussions were going to be. But I think the average San Diegan was like, "Hey, you could have hurt someone. Stay off my lawn." And it was more than that. So obviously you're here today. You live to tell the story. So he's clean and free, people. We don't need to worry about the ramifications of urban assault. But I think Blake would tell you to maybe if you're gonna try something like that, maybe consult a professional first, or
Get permits.
get some permits.
Don't put it on the internet.
Go to Mexico.
Yeah, 26 misdemeanors.
Ooh.
They tried to hit me with, and I had a couple other reckless driving, so 4 days in jail.
But the thing is, if you watch the video, like the people who are going to watch the video, you're driving professionally in it. You're just screeching tires, doing off-road stuff. But like, to anybody who's ever driven a truck on a dirt road, to see the driving skills that you have in this video is impressive. So I would think even the police were impressed if they watched it. They won't say it on record, but they're impressed. They have to take driving courses and learn how to drive those Crown Vics around.
Oh, yeah. Man.
So I think you could show them a thing or two.
Yeah, I wouldn't change a thing. The only thing I'd change is maybe I would have made the video longer.
See? And in the video, I believe you stop for an ice cream, correct? Or a shake, or
We finish it off with ice cream.
a root beer float, because another thing I want to talk about is Blake. I have a beanie of his here from his company, Shreddy Life, and it's got an ice cream cone on it. So one thing you'll notice if you follow Blake, or if you've been following Blake, he's an ice cream dude. I mean, pizza, but ice cream, I would say. If there were like, you're on the cliffhanger scene and it's take my hand or take this ice cream, it's probably the ice cream, right? And so what
The ice cream and your hand same time. I got you, but I'm not letting this go either.
So tell us about that, like your ice cream, the ice cream obsession, or not obsession, but it's just your thing. It's just kind of one of the things you've been that follows you is that you probably got some ice cream. I don't even know if you know, but I brought you some strawberry shortcake ice cream cones. They're in your freezer down in the workshop.
That's what's up, man.
Can't come empty-handed to record a podcast, folks.
I like it. I like those too.
Yeah.
But
So was it childhood memories, or was it did someone what was your first ice cream experience that somehow turned into this lifelong love up for it, or is it just that it tastes good?
I think it tastes good, and grandma, man, and then like, grandma always had it in the fridge. She indulged, grandpa indulged, and I lived with them a majority of my life. And pretty much, man, I mean, even like when I was working, freaking welding, doing this, that, construction, especially when I was just putting my body through the ringer and burning so many calories, I felt like instead of eating like really bad foods, I'd eat healthy. But then like before bed, I just would eat ice cream to like nourish my body with calories to where I had substantial energy the next day.
Right.
So it was kind of like a tool of mine to where I didn't go to bed dead tired and like low on calories with bad food. I would just eat good food for the nutrients, and then I'd eat ice cream for the calories, and it was a win-win.
Yeah, a little nightcap, little ice cream sandwich, little this,
Yeah.
little that. I mean, even the shirt you're wearing has an ice cream truck on it.
It does, dude. It does.
Yeah. Okay, and you mentioned your grandparents. I wanted to talk about that. I mean, our generation, Blake and I are about the same age. Our grandparents' generation, for most people our age, that's the backbone of our families. We learn a lot from our grandparents. We get a lot of influence from them. And I spent a lot of time at my grandparents growing up. But you just mentioned you lived with yours for a while. And anyone who follows Blake, the last few years, you noticed, and the ice cream thing I brought up was, he spent a lot of time with his grandmother, eating a lot of ice cream and doing a lot of fun stuff. And I think a lot of us who have followed you for a while, we looked up to that relationship that you had with your grandmother. And we'll let Blake talk more about her, but I just wanted you to shed some light on who seemed like probably the most wonderful influence in your life.
She was just raw. She was real. She was Christian. She's a good person, man. She knew I'd have a good time, but she also knew her values. My mom and dad, like I said, split when I was younger. My mom was, working, doing her thing. My dad was working. So my grandparents were like my base, and they didn't have nothing to do. They had my mom at a later age in life. Mm-hmm. And I gave them more purpose. I gave them kind of more of like a schedule to where it kept me in line, and they knew that I was safe, comfortable, and doing everything that I needed to get done in life, like school and the basics. And she was a giver, man. She liked to make lunches. She liked to have something to do, because we all get bored if we don't have something to do. So that was like her nurturing characteristics just coming through, and it was comfortable. It was easy for me, letting my parents figure out where they're at in life. My dad was a hard worker. He still is. And 63, still tying rebar in pools. Yeah. And my mom's a waitress, and she's doing well. And just had shoulder surgery actually. But yeah, she was the rock, dude.
Yeah. And man, obviously we're speaking about her in the past tense, so I just want to say I'm sorry for your loss of your grandma, but I would say when life is all said and done, most of us would love to have as long and as great of a life as your grandma had. And
96,
my goodness.
Yeah.
That is a life.
Old bird.
Long one. So they say, I heard someone say it a long time ago. It's about, you have a dash. It's the year you're born, the day you're born, then there's a dash, and then the day you die. It's all about what you do with that dash. So your grandma had a badass dash.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. She did.
And then another thing you mentioned is that your parents, they're hardworking people. I think that's another point I wanted to drive home, is that a lot of people these days, we get on Instagram, we go on Twitter, we watch videos, we have content galore. It's overload sometimes.
Every day,
we're doing a podcast. Everyone's got one now. There's information, there's videos. So a lot of people don't understand what hard work, and like Blake said, 8 years invested into his first car. Like, think about working on one thing for 8 years. Most people, if they go through something and it doesn't quite pan out for them in the first week, month, let alone a year, they're over it and they leave. So Blake's story of 8 years into his first car, never giving up. His dad still working his ass off. His mom working hard. His grandma and grandpa being that base. It's created a good example. I feel like Blake is a good example for people who, like I said, I got a little tangent there, but on Instagram we see things that are nice. Most people only post the highlights. Like
Oh yeah.
you follow a celebrity, it's here's my new car, this cool house, this vacation, all that, and most people are like, damn, I either wish I had that or how the hell did this person get there? Blake's story is pretty transparent. He's on his Instagram, he's on his YouTube channel, he's posting stuff all the time of the hard work that goes into all this. So that's what I wanted to shed on today. And it's like, you didn't just one day wake up and decide this is all the stuff you wanted to do. It's been a culmination of your childhood, your upbringing, and all of that has led you here today, which is really cool.
No, yeah, absolutely, man. It takes a lot of hard work, and nothing's been handed. I mean, now I have amazing partners that value the work and effort that I put in exchange for, content and exposure and testing products, giving honest feedback. And it's a blessing, man. I mean, I never ever thought that, it would have came to this. Growing up, I wanted to be a supercross rider, and then having it transition into an off-road race car driver. I think a lot of people like McGrath, Deegan, Kerry Hart have tampered with in the short course scene and whatnot.
Mm-hmm.
But, I didn't have that supercross ride. I tried, but didn't have the money to travel, didn't have the money in that. My parents didn't have it. And that's why, I kind of built that car, not out of anticipation to get to this point, but to build something unique, to get eyes on it, and then drop a sick video for my own sole purpose, and then kind of see the wave that by selling that and starting the new car, and then seeing the having a couple people that saw the Urban Assault and saw the growth from it, and want to attach to that. That's when the doors kind of opened up. And I was still working construction at the time. That's kind of how I finished the car off, was working hard in construction for 7 years for an HVAC company as a certified welder. And it might have shot my lungs out welding in those confined spaces, so I always have like a chronic cough and whatnot. But I mean, that's kind of what jump-started it, was the relentlessness and the hard work and the determination, and not necessarily the glory or the fame originally, but just the pure love for it all.
Right, and that's awesome, and that's really well said. So what a lot of people, what they want to find out about people they're interested in or people they follow is their why. And I think, a lot of people think about the results, like you just said. They're only thinking about the fame, the likes on their posts, but they don't really have a reason behind it or a passion for what they're doing. I mean, do people really have a passion for posting a selfie with the filter over it? No, they just want attention. So maybe that's their passion. Blake has explained that he's had a passion for everything he's done because of many reasons. So it's like his life and the stuff that he's done, he's passionate about it, which is badass. I got to give you props for that. And what he just said, how he has partners now that work with him. And by partners, he means sponsors. So people who literally are willing to pay him, give him product, because he's a good representative of it. And as someone who formerly worked in the action sports industry, and I've dealt with personalities, I've dealt with teams and athletes, and some people aren't the best representatives of sponsors, and it might be because they don't have it in their personality. But Blake's full of personality. He's got the face that you like. He's got a big bright smile. He's, you're the guy that you could show up at an event and the dad and the kid will go home and tell the wife, we met Blake Wilkey. It's not, so it's like, it's cool. And you got to give someone respect for that. And that's what's opened the door for these partners that you work with now. Obviously you have your own brand, Shreddy Life, who would be your main partner, because that's your your brand. That's your life that you're
Yeah.
putting behind it. But why don't you tell us about what's going on at Shreddy Life right now? What is Shreddy Life? What can people expect to come from Shreddy Life in the near future?
It's basically an action sports apparel brand for shredders by shredder. My partner Aaron Birdwell, he's like an avid snowboarder, and he's the one that designed the OG Wilkey Works logo that was on the side of
The OG
the
bug.
bug when we did Urban Assault. So he did that design, did some side work, and when I got in trouble, we put that logo on a T-shirt because people wanted to donate towards a GoFundMe. So I said, I'm not gonna take people's hard-earned money. Let's blast these on shirts. I'll give you $5 for every one you sell, plus the design. And he managed that for me. And then a friend got drunk with one of the shirts on, and I was like, I don't want this anymore. Like, I'm gonna figure something else out.
Right.
Since we had momentum and that wave that I was talking about, and let's figure out a cool brand and let's start something new, and split it right down the middle. Like, I'll bring the audience, I'll drive sales, I'll keep shredding. You freaking are good at websites and design. You went to school for this. Let's use your knowledge in what you do and my knowledge and kind of audience with what I do, and let's meet in the middle and build something. And then I wanted to do a shredding because of the San Diego vibe.
Right.
The surf, skate, moto, desert, river, something that blended with everything. Because if I was going to rep a brand, I wanted it to kind of encompass my entire life. Not just like certain brands kind of only cater to a certain aspect of
Right.
snowboarding or surf. And I didn't want that. I wanted a universal brand that someone could wear at any place of shred.
Right.
Sushi, desert, river, beating on the drums, like the term shred was always just like a cool word.
And side note, I have family in Orange County, and I just spent a month at my aunt and uncle's beach house in Newport Beach, and I was going on daily beach cruise rides. They have a beach cruiser at their house. Every day, counted maybe 5-6 Shreddy shirts on the boardwalk in Newport Beach, and I'd be smiling at the people, and they're like a bro. They look at me, they're like, "What are you smiling at?" I'm like, "Dude, my friend, that's your no hi." I just felt like such a dork, but I wanted to tell them like, I know the Shreddy guy, but I'm like, no, I don't even want to. Then they're gonna ask me, how do I meet the Shreddy guy? How do I go to his house? No. So yeah, like you said, Aaron is your partner, and I personally have purchased stuff from Shreddy Life, and like you said, he's a master at building websites and the business side. It's all very nicely put together, seamless. Like, it's up there with any other brand that you would shop from online. And do you guys have a physical place where people shop still, or is it all online now with COVID, or
We
how's that
do,
work?
man. It's open. It's right in Santee.
Okay.
Excuse me. The border of El Cajon and Santee. So pretty much one of the home cities that we were both born and raised in. So keeping it core, and it's just like I said, gear for shredders by shredders. That we want to produce. We have socks, underwear, moto gloves, helmets. We've done steering wheel collabs, sunglass collabs with Heatwave, shirts, hoodies, beanies, flags for your whips at the desert. So much.
Even face shields.
Face shields.
Yeah, you guys had to
quick
adapt.
releases.
Yep, that's
Just
awesome.
Everything that basically we use and in our daily lives that we felt like we can make a product for it that's a quality product at a competitive, affordable price, and just let people become a part of something, to where it's like you said, when you see someone and you want to be like, oh, dude, I know I shred. Like, what do you shred? It's like the term shreddy is like shred ready, or ready to shred, essentially blended together. So like, you see someone wearing that, like, oh, what's up, dude? You want to take a rip on my bike? Or like support people. Like, you see someone with a shirt on, and like our goal is like to support or to lift people, not to necessarily see some kid that sucks at, say, skateboarding at the skate park and you videotape and make fun of them. It's like, no, try to teach the kid, uplift them, make them to where they can become a better athlete or better at the sport that you might be better at, and teach someone something, because it feels 10 times better. Cloud isn't about making fun of someone and recording it. It's about, you know, hey, I'm going to teach this kid to kickflip.
That's what's up. And,
You know?
and, you know, that's another reason why I said Blake is a good influence, because he is that guy that if you were at the desert and, I mean, obviously if he's in the middle of a race or something, he's got tunnel race vision and that makes sense. But if Blake was on a weekend trip in the desert and someone in the camp that he didn't even know had a flat tire, I guarantee Blake's the first dude to walk over there and be like, "Hey, you guys, this is the tool you need." You know, like he's that guy,
Always.
which is awesome. And with you spreading that type of message through your brand, hopefully that, you know, starts to trickle down to the Groms. And like you said, bullying is a big thing these days, and people think it's cool to make fun of other people, and we say no to that. No, we're not about that. We're filming this episode, so if you're only listening, Blake and I just flipped off the camera. So
Yeah.
we were talking about your partners and sponsors, so, and racing. So tell us what's the last race you did? How'd you do? Tell us what's next, and then maybe if you want to talk about any cool stuff you have in the works with any of your sponsors, just let us know.
Last race was King of the Hammers, the Super Bowl of off-roading in Johnson Valley. It is the Ultra 4 racing team puts on such a sick event, and for the first time they did a Class 11 shootout, land
And
rush start.
Tell us what Class 11 is basic for everyone. It's the Volkswagen Bug class, correct?
Stock bug with very little modifications. Your stock freaking front beam, stock arms, stock brakes, stock pedals, stock, just like it's a bone stock car that basically stock gearing in the transmission. It's as raw and real as it gets, and it's the most budgeted class, but it is a little bit bumpy. But it's the rooted class, and I feel like I gravitated towards that class again because of the bug thing, but also because it was raw, it's affordable. So people that might follow our adventures and see some of the other top tier builds and thrashing out in the desert that might think, you know, racing's only a rich man's sport. You can build one of these cars for under 10 grand,
Right.
and come race against me and have fun doing it.
That's cheaper than a new dirt bike
Yeah.
these days.
You know, and then I showcase the build process on YouTube with the Slug Shark build series is what I called it on our Shreddy Life's YouTube channel, where I don't really hide any secrets and I show everyone exactly what it is that I did building this car. And well, we took the car and the bug and won King of the Hammers and won 10 G's.
What?
10 G's, dude. It was tight.
See, he just won another car, is what he's telling you. You could get into this racing, you could kick some ass, but you might have to race against Blake, so you might get second. But you can make money doing this stuff if you really put some effort into it. But that's not your main goal. But obviously, it helps you. You're building property out here, and you've got a lot of things going on. So some race winnings probably goes right back into the program, correct?
It was spent before I even won, but since I won, I was like, okay, this is where it's going immediately. Like I crossed the finish line, I'm like, shop build out, $9,400 for the material. I wasn't prepared to spend that, didn't have that, and didn't want to get stretched too thin, but we won that. And I'm like, bink,
There it is.
here it is. It's going there, dude. And I was stoked.
See, and that's another thing. A lot of people probably think that racers and race teams have the unlimited funding, and you see the cool trucks and the rigs, and you think, wow, that guy's probably rich. And it's like, no, man, everything costs money, and every time you take that thing out, it costs you money. It's obviously, fuel and travel. So to win some dough is sweet.
Yeah, and the class has grown. MP, the largest Volkswagen aftermarket parts manufacturer located in Anaheim, is putting a lot of money into that. And I kind of helped them get back into off-roading, something that they didn't necessarily lack parts for, but lacked kind of the attention to detail that I felt like it needed, because there's Class 9, there's 1600, there's 1600, 5 cars, all that run their products, but their space didn't see that. So The last 5 out of 6 races we've won, the car's been teched up and down, where they check gearing, they check fuel.
Which means what? That your competition is saying, hey, make sure that thing's following the rules because he keeps winning everything.
Yeah,
And it's stock, guys. You just need to drive faster or learn, maybe follow Blake around.
setup is everything, man. I mean, figuring out where and how to set your suspension up with 5.75 of an inch of front wheel travel and about 7 in the rear. And you're going through the same bumps that the trophy trucks are going through. So, patience, line selection, braking points, momentum, all the things that I learned racing motocross up until I was 20 years old, avidly transfer hand in hand into the stock bug class. So I would say I could jump into other competitive cars and still do rather well, but my car that's tailored specifically to me for my driving style is a little tank.
Yeah, it's sweet. And I've seen the video, and you guys can check out his Instagram. He's got footage of him driving it, and you can hear everything when you're driving. It's rattling around. It's just pure just machinery meets the dirt. And tell me what it's like racing in that thing. I know you have Kevin is your co-driver, right? And he rides with you on the races. What's it like in the cab during a race with Blake and Kevin? Just give me a little little window into that.
There's a lot of oh shit moments, because you'll be doing 60 miles an hour through a section that's maybe has a couple little bumps, and then you get into big bumps, and it's front bumper, back bumper, front bumper, back bumper till you slow down enough. So like, there's been some of those instances, or blowing corners, almost getting stuck. It's just madness, and it's smooth but violent all at the same time. And it's just like anything, you gotta drive it to its capabilities, or to its maximum capabilities, and back off a little bit.
Right.
Because the competition's going to be doing that, and it's getting gnarlier and gnarlier. And there's some guys that used to dominate, and we stepped in, and now they're stepping their game up. So it's always one of those things where off-road racing, I tell people, is you're competing against the course, you're competing against competitors, and you're competing against yourself.
Right.
So there's 3 types of racing in one race when it comes to off-road racing.
That's the best way to say it, because I feel like if you pay attention into these off-road racing, whether it's a short course race or it's a long, point A to point B desert race, a lot of people's races end because they pushed it too hard and they broke something on their car, or they might not have backed off a little bit, like you said. They push it, they go over a section, they crash, they break something on their car. And it's like, you have that, like you said, you rode motocross. So, motocross is the sport where if you don't pay the proper attention to your bike, or if you take your mind off it for a second, you get your head knocked and you're on the ground and you're like, damn it, how'd that happen? So you've, parlayed that into your off-road driving. And I feel like obviously it's paying off. You said you just won 5 of 6 races.
Yeah, and the first race was the Mitt 400 where you got second. So a second place the first race, and then 5 wins consecutively.
That's awesome, man.
It's awesome, man. But I mean, I have Sletten Engineering that gives me a solid motor that I wring its neck out and float valves almost every ship. A good shift, a good transmission builder. To maintain it, and it's a lot of it's done in the garage, and everything aside from the motor and tranny I do personally. So if there is a mechanical failure, it's probably on me.
But the cool thing about that is if you know how to fix it.
True.
Because you built it.
Yeah.
So you're not stuck out there saying, something broke, Dad. No, it's you're the dad. You are daddy. That's your car.
I'm daddy.
Yeah. Some of these off-road guys have the daddy that'll fly in the helicopter and pick their son up. I've seen it.
Yeah.
So
and there's, that's awesome. I mean, everyone wishes they could have that opportunity, but there's
gotta work
some
with
of
what you
those
got.
dudes that are very fortunate. And like my boy Jax from Redline, he's such a cool kid. I think he's like 16 and just racing trophy trucks, and
That's
a
awesome.
badass, and his dad got it going on. But good kid. Shout out to Jax. I raced with him at the Baja 500 2 years ago in their 6100 truck, and that was first big Mexico race, getting to drive. And yeah, they're sharing, and got me addicted to Mexico.
I feel like you run into a lot of people like that in the off-road community, because it is a community, whether
Yep.
whether you're the top dog who's got all the cool stuff or you're the new guy who's at his first race. It feels like a community. So
Oh yeah, it's a small world and everybody knows everybody, especially when you're kind of doing the tour and the races and stuff. It's a lot of repeat racers, you know.
yeah, same people, different place.
Yep.
Yeah. So, which leads me to wrapping it up here. What's next for you? You do a lot of, obviously a lot of racing, a lot of content pieces, but I noticed you go to a lot of shows too to promote your partners and your vehicle. What's coming up? What do you got coming up?
Actually, tomorrow I leave for the More Series / X race in Barstow, another Class 11 race. MP threw up a good prize purse for the Triple Crown, where it's 3 races. So tomorrow's the first of the 3 rounds out of like 6, I think, that More holds a year. But you only have to race the certain 3 for that big prize purse, which is cool. And there's 25 entries. I'm not sure if they're doing a land rush start or not, or if they're going to start, 13 and 12 or 5 off the line. But the cool thing with the Class 11 is that also they have land rush starts, or more than 2 cars that leave the line at once. So it's kind of like a scramble, and the first few corners is always hectic.
And that doesn't happen in the other classes, correct? Because
Nope.
the vehicles are too big. The course might be too narrow for all of them to take off. So they let
Moto
all you
style.
bugs just whole shot it.
Yep, moto style. So again, the roots come into play.
Yeah, it's all tied together.
We're finishing up the pit bike track, which should be done today or tomorrow, which we're gonna create some content around. SoCal Shred edit, where we go from the beach to Glamis. It was an 8-day shoot. That video is gonna drop on Shreddy Life's channel probably 2nd or 3rd week of March. I got a shoot with Hoonigan and Polaris at a junkyard. Nick Breon's bachelor party's coming up.
Shout out Nick Breon. Good human.
Such a rad dude.
Great human.
He's the one actually who helped me with Urban Assault 2, which was the legal video we did in Las Vegas on Fremont Street.
That was actually really cool. You had some other, I remember you guys, would you drive over those
K-Rails.
K-Rails, and you made a full-on scene of Fremont Street and Vegas, and that's cool too. So check out the Urban Assault 2 video from Vegas also.
No trouble on that one. The cops actually loved it, shut the streets down.
Legal!
It was sick.
Yeah, that's what's
I
up.
like your voice, dude. Like, I like how you come in with those.
Legal! Sound effects.
Yeah.
Like, we could have introduced you properly, like, from East County, San Diego, driving anything with a motor, even in water, Blake Wilkey.
Damn, you're good at that.
See, but I found out, and Cameron Steele told me this when I met him, that the voice that they use for Supercross is a computer edit. They type everything in, and it spits it out. Sorry, kids, but there's nobody in the booth talking like this at Qualcomm. Which, Qualcomm doesn't exist anymore. My goodness. So, like you said, you have these races coming up. I'd like to just kind of close with, do you have anyone you'd like to thank that's part of your program, or anybody just anyone special in your life that in the off-road world that's kind of helped you get to where you're at, whom people might not know, or part of your program, or that contribute? Just any shout outs you want to give.
I mean, dude, I don't even know where to start. The list is so long. I mean, Chris Farmer for originally teaching me a lot of the trade, and Kurt Schutenhelm for giving me a foot in the door when I was younger. Pops teaching me to weld. Mom for all the crazy shit that she took me to growing up. Grandma being the rock. But other partners like HB Tuners, who originally were the first one to sign me after when I got the new car done, was rad. Heatwave Visuals, Sunglass Company, rad everywhere. They see the value, and they hook it up, and we did the collab arms with Shreddy and Heatwave. So like they've been a big part. PRP for the seats, harness, keep me safe, because we've rolled some shit.
Oh yeah.
And Gladiator Tires for the hookup. I mean, they're my title sponsor for the last 2 years.
It's Gladiator Tires.
Gladiator Tires.
That's cool. Yeah, they make good tires. I see you post on your Instagram that you've driven your your truck however many miles towing a trailer, and they still look brand new. And I just saw them in person. They look brand new.
They kick ass.
He doesn't lie, folks.
I mean, Jetstream Adventure boats for. I mean, originally they didn't see the vision that I had with the boat. They're just like, oh, someone else trying to do something different with one of these boats, and then did it, and then they kicked me back half the money for the whole. So I mean, that's just another arsenal of the Hoonigans for all the build and battle stuff and different shoots we've done with them, and cross promotion, full throttle batteries, King shocks for making the ride smooth. I mean, Boxo tools for outfitting the shop with tools. There's just so many people that play a small part and role in the program that allows me to freaking keep food on the table and actually be able to continually thrash and provide content and give them substantial data on their products.
Right.
You know,
Some
and
true R&D, like really tested hard.
Yeah.
Pushed to the limit.
And you know, if something sucks, then I'm not gonna promote it just because I have a hard time doing that. You know, if it's not real, if the shit don't work, then the shit ain't for me, and it's not gonna be something I'm gonna promote to give someone else some bullshit. You know.
Right, and that ties back to Blake being that guy who is approachable. And I mean, if you were to say, we'll make up a name, Smith Shoes sponsored him, and the things had holes in the soles after a week of wearing them, some kid's gonna come up to Blake and say, hey, your shoe sponsor sucks, dude. I bought these shoes because of you. So he's gonna make sure that stuff never happens. So the stuff Blake runs is the stuff he promotes, which is really cool, you know.
Yeah, kick rocks if your shit sucks. But not in those shitty shoes.
Yeah.
Smith shoes. Fuck those things.
Someone named Smith's gonna write me a letter, be like, "What, dude? My shoes are great." Like, sorry, Smithers. So my last question for you, Blake. First of all, thank you for making the time for me here. This is really cool to have you on here. But what I want to ask anyone who comes on the show is, the first series of questions I asked you would be why you do what you do, and you've explained that perfectly, and the passion behind it. But in the future, when the shredding's done, and
It's never going to be done.
but when our shredding, you know, when we get old and when we're shredding, what do you want to be remembered for, man? Like, what would you like? Legacy is a big word, but what would you like your legacy? Your when someone hears Blake Wilkey or Shreddy Life, 50 years from now in the San Diego area or the greater off-road community, what would you like to be the theme around that? I mean, obviously you can't write what other people think about you, but what would you like to be remembered for? You know, like what?
I would say the kid that followed his dreams, man. I mean, you know, originally wanted to be motocross, and then it transferred into off-road, and just building cool, unique stuff. Like, I want to be the dude who was from San Diego that was built to shred, man.
Built to shred.
Yeah, and that's what we're doing right now. My boy Kevin with Quixotic Motorsports, who I've been friends with forever, when me and him got together at Timmy Boy's shop, and started devising a plan to build the TT Bug, which has been on several of our episodes on our Shreddy Life channel, YouTube channel. That, I guess, it has always been an ultimate goal to build or race a trophy truck at the top tier level, and to be able to do that now here in a garage at my house with my boy Kevin, and see this thing come to life on the day-to-day 13-hour days, and see the progress and have the support from those guys. The ultimate goal would be, at the end of my fucking days, to be able to say that I built something and lined up with the best. I'm not going there to win and compete with these guys that have millions of dollar budgets. I mean, because this truck's going to be very basic. Keep it simple, stupid, the term KISS that I like to live by. And when we show up to that line, I'll feel like I completed the biggest childhood dream that I had when I transitioned when I got addicted to off-road and was in dirt bikes, because that is like the high dollar, high tier vehicle that anyone that's into it sees and says, I would love to drive one of those. I'd love to have one of those. And here we are, coming very close to that goal.
That's awesome, man. So like he said, they're working hard on a lot of projects, I should say. So follow Blake Wilkey on Instagram. Look up Shreddy Life. Give them a follow. just keep up with him, see what he's up to. And if you have a kid and he's into off-road or dirt bikes and needs someone to look up to, this is your guy right here. So thanks a lot, Blake, for coming on and sharing your story. Honestly, it's been a pleasure, and I'm looking forward because I've seen your story since I met you almost 10 years ago to now. I'm really looking forward to the next 10 years. So,
man. Yeah,
we'll just worry about the next 10 minutes or 10 days first, right?
Yeah, 10 days, 10 months, 10 years.
All right, Blake. Well,
we're gonna have some crazy shit going on.
Good luck to you this weekend racing, and stay safe out there on the pit bike track. And thank you guys so much for tuning in to the 4th episode of the Joey Tryon Show with Blake Wilkey.
Much love.
Bro.
Tight.
Hell yeah. Thank you.
That was
smooth.
I like it.
You got the voice too. Nice and smooth. That's what's up. Most people are like, and like anyone I talk to, I'm like, you don't need to be so nervous, bro.
I learned that in the last 2.5, 3 years of just always being on camera and having to like not be super stuttery. I mean, you get everything, just like anything, you get better with practice, you know?
Yeah, when I was taking all my stand-up classes and improv, the first few times I grabbed the mic, I'm like, and even the teacher's like, put it back on the stand. Because if you're nervous and you're holding a microphone, it just takes over your whole body. You're like, you're like, put it back on the stand. Walk back up there again, grab it. Don't be so nervous. You know, it's like you learn shit over time. It slowly comes. But yeah, you fucking...
Just like this whole thing, dude.
You got it.
The last 10 years, man. Just
you got
starts accumulating and building, man.
So legit, dude.
You guys learned something? You guys figure something out from this?
Hopefully you did.
Because I got to get my ass back to work.
Yeah.
Seriously. You see all that
No, he's
shit.
got a pile of shit to do out there. We got to get to it.
You showed up.
I got to make sure he doesn't put me to work.
You showed up, and I had the tractor dude I had to assess with the track. Method here, taking measurements for signage.
Him and I showed up at the same time. He looked at me like, you're not Blake. I'm like, no, I'm not Blake. I'm like, who are you? And I looked at the wheels on the van. I'm like, he's the method guy for sure. I was like, I could put two and two together.
For like an hour or two waiting?
Yeah, but we were chilling. We walked around, checked out the pit bike track. He was jonesing on the track, so was I.
That's awesome.
It was so dope, dude.
Yeah.
Well, hell yeah, man.
Josh is killing me on that, which I need to get back to.
That's so sick. How'd you meet the guy who's working on the track?
Long-term homie. That mutual friend, and he's been doing the Red Bull straight rhythm tracks with, I believe it was Damien, who was like the head dude for all that stuff.
Yeah.
And Supercross stuff, and he was his right hand, so, you know, it's like, if I'm going to have someone do it, like, I mean, I could be in here, and we can lay the thing out, and I know it's going to get done right. Yeah.
And
like, you can see that, like, I've been in here, and he's been running for the last 6 hours, and
just the time I was here, I watched where he started, and then I checked back a few minutes later. I'm like, holy shit, he just finished a whole section. I'm like, yeah. But I've seen the Dirtworks guys do their shit, and it blows your mind how quickly they can move a track or build a track.
Well, that's a wrap. Hopefully,
wrap it up.
You guys got a little extended edition versus all the audio. Yeah. I'm sure Joey's gonna throw all the audio for the. What is it? The podcast? Yeah, he's gonna throw all the audio on the podcast, and then you guys got a little extended bonus credits, but
behind the scenes, baby,
with the voice.